A successful magnet project requires timely data gathering, masterful writing, and strict time management. But you'll never achieve any of these if you don't first learn how to manage teams and timelines and avoid bottlenecks. So if you're ready to learn the strategies that I use to keep teams and timelines on track and deliver projects on time, then stick around because we're going to talk about it. Hi, I'm Katie Stevens, and welcome back to Excellence in Nursing. If you're new here, I am a nursing consultant, a coach, and an educator, and I work with magnet program directors and healthcare organizations to help them successfully navigate the magnet journey. Today, I am so excited to have you here for the final video of our Magnet Project Management series. In video 1, we started talking about building a solid foundation, things like mindset and getting organized. Then in video 2, we dug into how to structure your work and how to prioritize those high impact projects that truly move the needle. If you happen to miss those videos, they're linked in the description below, so you can check those out anytime. Today is where it all comes together. We're going to be focusing on the people and the processes that truly make all of it happen. That is your team, your timelines, and how to steer clear of those common roadblocks that could slow you down. Here's what we're going to be covering in today's video. First off, we're going to be talking about how to build and mobilize cross-functional teams, getting the right people involved, giving them clear roles and responsibilities, and then really setting them up for success. Then we're going to be diving into how to set clear timelines and milestones so that you can really keep the work on track and really make steady, measurable progress. And then finally, I'm going to share some of my favorite tips for avoiding bottlenecks and keeping the momentum strong because, let's be honest, things don't always go as planned. My goal by the end of this video is that you'll have some really great tips and strategies that you can put in place right away to help you start managing magnet teams and timelines effectively, all while, staying flexible and adaptable when challenges pop up. So are you ready? Let's get into it. Magnet is a team effort, plain and simple. You can't and please do not try to manage everything on your own. Magnet really impacts every corner of your organization, and that's why really building a strong, diverse, cross-functional team is absolutely essential. This is where everything we've covered in video 1 and 2 comes all together. So remember, in video 1, we talked about creating those centralized trackers to really organize all of your tasks, milestones, and responsibilities. In video 2, we focused on prioritizing your work and then identifying those high-value projects. Now we're shifting our focus to the people, that's your team, and how to delegate all of these tasks effectively while also making sure that nothing falls through the cracks. I do want to remind you right here about the free MPD Handbook. If you haven't downloaded that already, it is a free 80-page resource that is packed with some really great strategies to help you on your journey. Chapters 2 and 3 are all about leading through influence and engaging your teams. So I think that these chapters specifically will be really helpful and will really align well with today's content. So the link to all of that to download that is in the description below. So make sure you grab a copy. I'm going to start out by sharing with you generally how I approach the thought process behind the people aspect of the magnet work. So when I think about the people that need to be involved, I usually apply the exact same lens or principles that we apply to anything else that we do in magnet, which is structure, process, and outcome. What I do is I generally start with the outcome and I work backward. The outcome in this case is, of course, submitting that magnet document, knocking that site visit out of the park, and then earning that magnet designation. Once I'm clear on the end goal, then I reverse engineer the process. So what are the structures and processes that are needed to actually get us there? Let's break that down step by step. So first we need to define and clarify the structure. What are the teams, the committees, and the mechanisms that are going to be needed to support all of this work? And then next, what is the process? How are we going to actually move through all of this work? Everything from data collection to documentation, and then, of course, ultimately that site visit. And let me be honest with you, there is a lot to lift here. You've got all the documentation, which means mountains of writing and data collection. Then there's all the work that needs to be captured. So all of those quality improvement initiatives and projects, patient outcomes, all of the stories of excellence that need to get captured. And finally, there's the enculturation piece, which is making sure that we're actually living out Magnet principles every single day. And this isn't something that can just be written about. This is something that really needs to be embedded into the organization and happening on every single unit and, ideally in every patient interaction. The only way that you can make all of this happen is by building a strong, diverse team that can really strategically tackle all of these pieces. So Magnet, again, is not something that you can do alone, nor should you. It is truly a team effort. So with that, how do you structure the people, the teams, all the groups that might need to be pulled together to make all of this work happen? What works well, in my opinion, is creating multiple mechanisms for engagement. Magnet really has so many moving parts, and a well-structured team really makes sure that every aspect, from strategy to execution, is covered. Now, here is something really important that I want you to keep in mind. Before you start pulling a bunch of people together, please do not reinvent the wheel. One of the biggest concerns that I hear is, do we need to start creating a bunch of new committees for this? And my answer is no, not necessarily. Maybe. So my recommendation is to really start by looking at the structures that you already have in place. Are there already councils or task forces or committees that are already working on things like your quality metrics? Maybe there's already shared governance in place, or patient experience committees. These groups can be really great. They can be perfect, actually, for taking on some of this Magnet-related work. For example, you might already have shared governance councils that could actually tackle some of the frontline nursing engagement or some of the shared decision-making stories. You might already have quality improvement committees that might already be collecting and analyzing some of the metrics that you need. And then there already are probably likely departmental meetings that are taking place that could help you align on some of the HR-related data or some of the patient experience initiatives. So if these groups are actually already doing similar work, then please lean into that. However, if you do find that there are gaps, or if maybe the current structures just aren't cutting it, then that's when you might want to think about creating some focused teams to start handling some of the specific pieces of the work. Here are some key teams to consider, and here's what this might look like in practice. So you could consider a Magnet steering committee, which might function as a high-level decision-making body. This team might oversee strategy, alignment, and progress tracking to really make sure that everything is connected and moving toward designation. You might want to pull together a writing team, a small writing team that focuses on execution, helping you really deliver and refine on that Magnet documentation. You also might want to leverage a data team that really handles the gathering and validating and some of the analyzing of your outcome metrics, which of course requires some specialized expertise. Again, your professional governance councils could engage frontline nurses in some of the Magnet-related projects and work, and this really helps to embed Magnet principles into everyday life and practice. You could have department-specific champions. You could have representatives from, say, HR, IT, patient experience, and then some of the specialty units, places like ambulatory or research, etc. So, of course, all of these teams and individuals really bring unique expertise and great information to the table, making sure that really all departments are included in the work and that also they are aligned with the Magnet goals. So these are just some ideas to get you going. And as you set out to do all of this, whether it is leveraging existing teams and groups or creating a new group, I do highly recommend that as you're getting started, really clearly articulate the purpose, the function, and the scope of each team up front. And then ask yourself, what is this team here to do? Are they here to make high-level decisions, or are they executing on specific tasks? What is their scope? Are they going to be focused on strategy, alignment, execution, or oversight, or maybe a combination of those? How is this group going to function? Are they going to be meeting regularly to review progress? Are they going to be convened as needed to really address specific challenges that might come up? So by clearly identifying some of these roles in advance, you can really avoid some confusion and I think really set up your teams for success down the road. Let me share a story about a team that I worked with that really struggled because they did not take some of these steps. So they had formed a group to work on Magnet documentation, but no one really knew what they were supposed to be doing. So there were no timelines, there were no clear expectations, and really no defined roles. And it really became a complete mess. When I came on, people were duplicating efforts, they were missing deadlines, and people were starting to get frustrated. So eventually we had to pause everything and really just completely go back to the drawing board. We ended up restructuring the team. We clarified roles and responsibilities. We ended up setting realistic expectations and timelines. And then we also provided training and resources that everyone needed to really be successful. So once we were able to do all of that, the team really started to move forward much more smoothly. The key takeaway here is that clarity is everything. A well-structured team with clear expectations will save you a lot of headaches down the line. Once you've assessed your existing structures and really determined what additional teams you might need, the next step is to assign roles and responsibilities. And this is where tools like a RACI matrix can come in handy. Now, let me say this up front, that using a RACI matrix isn't necessarily for every organization. It is just an option that I'm going to be sharing here in case there's someone out there watching who might benefit from it. If it feels like overkill, you can absolutely manage roles and responsibilities in other ways. But for some of you, I would say, especially for teams that are large or you have several cross-functional teams, this tool actually might be exactly what you need. So what is a RACI matrix? It is a framework for clarifying roles for every task or project that you might need to tackle. So RACI is RACI, and it stands for who's responsible, who's ultimately going to be doing the work, who's accountable, who ensures that the work is going to get done, who's accountable for that. C is consulted, who provides input or expertise, who needs to be consulted. And then I is for informed, and this is who needs to be updated or informed along the way. And here's how it connects to the centralized tracker that we talked about in video 1. You can actually integrate the RACI matrix right into your tracker. For example, you can add a column to your tracker for each one of these roles. This way, as you're building out your tracker, you can easily identify who's doing what for each task or project. What this looks like in practice is that if you're writing an SOE, you might assign the responsible party as the writer, obviously. And then the accountable party might be the team who's actually ensuring that the work gets completed. Under consulted, it might be, you might need to consult a data analyst for supporting evidence or data. And then under the informed category, you might have your magnet steering committee or a leadership team. Now, keep in mind here that you might not need to assign all 4 roles for every single task. It's, completely okay to tailor this to your needs. Sometimes you might only need 1 or 2 of these roles for a particular item, and that's perfectly fine. And of course, you don't have to use it at all. So the goal is to really make sure that the work is clear, that it's organized, and that nothing falls through the cracks. Now, at this point, it's really important to take a step back and ask, now that we've assigned roles and responsibilities, does everyone have what they need to succeed? And this might look like providing access to the right resources, whether that is a data tool or tracker. It could be writing templates, or it could be carved out time, dedicated time for getting all of this work done. It could be offering training to actually build up skills where it's needed. So for example, you might have someone that's assigned to draft an exemplar, but do they know what a strong exemplar looks like? If you have a data analyst that is responsible for validating metrics, do they understand what the magnet specific requirements are? So taking time up front to really equip your team really sets them up for success down the road, and it will save you a lot of time and frustration down the line. Once you get your team structured and your roles are defined, the focus really shifts to getting everyone moving in the same direction. That is easier said than done. And again, make sure you check out chapters 2 and 3 in the MPD Handbook. I think there's going to be some helpful tips in there for this. Okay, so how do you get everyone to move together? Well, here are a few things that I have found to work over the years. First off, set clear expectations. Use your tracker or your trackers to show timelines, milestones, and tasks, and then make it crystal clear what's really expected and when. So the second thing I'd say is really foster open communication. Regular check-ins, whether it's weekly meetings or quick huddles, can really help keep everyone aligned and also provide a space for people to raise questions, concerns, or even identify roadblocks. Another thing is to celebrate wins. Celebrating even small victories can really keep morale high and can really keep people focused on what's working. And it can also help remind people that hard work pays off. And here's the beauty of engaging your team. It's not just about getting all of the work done, although of course that is of critical importance. It's also about teaching and enculturating people into really that mindset of excellence, which is, i.e., the magnet culture. The more involved that people get, the more they'll start to understand what magnet is and why it really matters. And they'll really start to get that excitement, and they'll start to see that bigger picture and understand that the things that they're a part of are not just a single task. It's really this movement and this mindset toward excellence. Now let's talk about establishing clear timelines and milestones. Magnet is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And without a structured roadmap, it is really easy to lose momentum, lose steam, or, just feel overwhelmed. So this step is really all about breaking the work down into manageable pieces, aligning all of your efforts, and then really making sure that your progress stays on track. In video 1, we discussed, again, creating those centralized trackers. And then in video 2, we introduced that 7-stage magnet designation framework. So now we're going to build on all of that foundation by connecting those steps to your timelines and your milestones. With all of this work broken down into manageable steps and phases, you're going to start asking yourself some questions. What needs to be delivered during each phase? Define the outcomes that you expect to see for each stage or phase of the work, and then you can break these things down even further if you can. So who's going to be responsible for all of this work? Clarify those roles, and then don't forget that you have the RACI matrix that we covered earlier. And then also, what are some realistic deadlines for these phases or for the deliverables involved? It's really important to mention here that not every timeline can be set by you independently. So many of these milestones will actually require collaboration with other stakeholders to really assign realistic deadlines. You might need to work with, or even I would say negotiate with your writing team on how long they might need to complete, say, a certain amount of exemplars based on their current workload. A quality improvement team might need to provide some input on when an outcome metric might be available for review. So collaborating really ensures that your deadlines are grounded in reality while also making sure that you're maintaining momentum. Engaging your teams early helps you to gain buy-in and also avoid any surprises down the line. Make sure that you're realistic but firm when you're setting deadlines. It's really important to allow for flexibility for unexpected challenges, but I would really highly recommend to avoid open-ended extensions that can really severely, stall your progress. So make sure that you're using that centralized tracker to align all of your key deliverables with team responsibilities so that you can really make sure that everyone's on the same page. As you're outlining your key steps and deliverables, think about the sequence of your tasks. This is where dependencies come into play. Dependencies are those things that I can't do this until I've done that kind of thing. So for example, this is where, you can't draft an exemplar about an improvement project or initiative until the data team gets you the data that you need. So you can't, finalize your DDCT until HR completes the nursing workforce data that you need. So mapping out all of these dependencies can really make sure that the work really flows in the right order and that you avoid bottlenecks down the road. With your phases and dependencies in place, it's time to start setting out specific milestones. These are really the benchmarks that measure your progress and help your team to stay on track. For instance, during the gap analysis phase, you might set milestones for gathering baseline data, analyzing gaps, and maybe finalizing priorities. In the story writing phase, you could have milestone goals for completing, say, a certain amount, or maybe it's a certain percentage of exemplars by a specific date. For your site visit preparation, milestones could include conducting your mock surveys or maybe preparing frontline nurses and leadership for Q&A sessions. These are just some of the milestones that you might want to consider as you start building in your plan. So once all of my milestones are mapped out, then I start to work on visualizing the timeline. This step really transforms the plan or your roadmap into something that's tangible that really everyone can follow. This is where I will leverage tools like a Gantt chart or a project dashboard or a timeline tracker. And in these tools, I can show what's on track, what's at risk, or if there's anything delayed. I can map out dependencies to really ensure that tasks really flow in the right sequence. And then I can also make sure that roles and deadlines are really visible to the whole team, which really then keeps accountability front and center. Clear timelines and milestones really help connect your people, your tools, and your priorities all together, really making sure that every step of the journey really is aligned with your ultimate goal, which of course is magnet recognition. So remember in all of this that your tracker isn't static. It is a living, breathing tool. So as priorities shift or as challenges arise, make sure that you revisit your timeline and adjust as appropriate. So I can't reiterate this enough that flexibility is really key to staying agile without losing sight of your end goal. So, and with a strong plan and a roadmap in place, I think you'll be able to see that your team will be able to stay focused, accountable, and also adaptable, and then really ready to tackle whatever comes your way. All right, let's wrap up this series with some practical tips to help you avoid bottlenecks. Now, bottlenecks can be a real challenge. They can derail your progress, it can drain your team's energy, and it can really slow everything down. But here's the good news, is that they're often avoidable with a little proactive planning. So let's dive into some strategies. I've got 3 here for you to help keep all of the work flowing smoothly. The first tip is all about planning for bandwidth. So understanding your team's capacity early on is really critical to avoiding burnout and delays. So my recommendation here is to really assess workloads. Be realistic about your team and what they can handle alongside their regular responsibilities. So look at, are they already balancing patient care, other committee work, or other projects? So take a good hard look at their plates and then adjust accordingly. Also, assign tasks based on strengths and expertise. So who's your data whiz? Who's got a knack for writing? Leveraging individual strengths can really ensure that the work gets done effectively and efficiently. The other thing I would say is build in buffers. I usually try to always leave room in my timelines for unexpected delays or other competing priorities. Things like sick days, system outages, or just other unanticipated issues can, and I will say, probably will crop up. So buffers really give you the breathing room that you need to absorb any of those hits without really throwing everything off track. The second tip is, and we've talked about this before, is staying flexible. So again, we've talked about this. Magnet work rarely goes exactly as planned. So I've seen challenges from everything like delayed data to, turnover or shifting organizational priorities or national and global, emergencies, really throw a wrench into even the best laid plans. So flexibility here is truly a superpower. So one of my recommendations here would be, create contingency plans. Some of the things that I usually ask myself is, what happens if critical data isn't available? What's my backup plan if a key team member is out of the office, especially even for an extended amount of time? So thinking ahead about a lot of these what if scenarios will really save you a lot of headaches down the road. We've talked about this a couple times as well, but reassess your priorities regularly. Make it a habit to really review your timelines and your goals as things shift. So are there tasks that need to be moved up in priority? Are there projects that can be temporarily paused without, really losing progress? So regular check-ins will really help you stay nimble. And then adapt without losing direction. Staying flexible does not mean winging it. It also does not mean flying by the seat of your pants. Flexibility is really about being prepared. It means building in a plan that can bend without breaking. So keep your goals in mind and adjust your path as needed. The key here is to really stay organized even as things evolve. The last tip, finally, is to really keep the end goal in mind. So when roadblocks pop up, and they will, use your ultimate goal as your compass. So evaluate challenges carefully. When you hit a snag, ask yourself some things. Does addressing this issue move us closer to magnet designation? If the answer is yes, it might quite possibly be worth your effort. If it's not, it might be something that needs to be put on the back burner. The other thing is stay mission focused. Don't lose sight of the big picture. Magnet recognition, again, is not just about checking the boxes. It's really about elevating nursing excellence and showcasing all of the incredible work that your team is already doing. So keeping this mission front and center will really help you and your team navigate any setbacks with purpose and clarity. As we wrap up this Magnet project management series, let's take a quick moment to just recap what we've covered. So in video 1, we started with the foundation. We started with organization. We talked about creating those centralized trackers, about breaking the work down into manageable pieces, and really about setting yourself up for success. So in video 2, we actually built on all of that by diving into structure, process, and prioritization. We talked about how to use that 7-stage magnet designation framework to organize all of the work, to help set milestones, and to focus on those high-impact projects that really align with your goals. Finally, in this video, we brought it all together. We talked about teams, timelines, and avoiding bottlenecks. And my hope is that all of these tools and strategies will really help you to keep your magnet journey on track and moving forward with confidence. I know all of this might seem overwhelming. I've been there before. There really is a lot to juggle, but I would say take a deep breath and just remember that you don't have to do it all at once. Just focus on one thing at a time, put your plan in place, and tackle each piece step by step. And I know that you can get through it. Also, we've got several free resources that are linked in the description. Make sure you visit our website, our blog, download our free MPD Handbook and the 7-stage magnet guide. These have got a lot of great tips, tools, and checklists, I think, to help you navigate every stage of the magnet process, and they're completely free, so don't miss out. If you've enjoyed this series, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up, and we'd love it if you'd subscribe to our channel and also share this with anyone that you think might benefit from these tips. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What's one strategy from this series that you might like to implement or that you're excited to implement? I'd love to continue the conversation and hear from you. Also, if you are looking for some personalized support to tackle maybe a specific magnet challenge or just gain a fresh perspective on your magnet journey, please check out our on-demand consulting services. It's a really great, flexible, and cost-effective way to get some expert guidance without a long-term commitment. So the link again is in the description below. And as you work through this process, just remember that you're not alone. Whether it's these videos, free resources, or personalized support, we are here to help. So thank you so much for joining me in this magnet project management series. Until next time, stay organized, stay focused, and above all, remember this, that on the journey to excellence, you make the difference. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.